hitting record this time. All right, hello. You are listening to Shenanigans with Angel.
And Becky.
Now listen to our awesome new intro. It's so amazing.
Woo!
You're going to love it too because I'll put it on the video. Probably.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be good. I'm going to watch as it tapers off here at the end and I'll make it go like that.
Is that how that was?
That's the sound of making the music go quieter. Going, that's the way it goes.
Also, cars going by.
Yep, cars going by. My dog's coming to say hello. We are outside because it's so beautiful.
Nice.
And it's supposed to get super hot today.
So we're doing it
Early-ish.
Ish.
And today we don't have mugs with us because Becky brought coffee. What? And she's finished hers. I'm not quite done with mine yet because I keep talking. Surprise.
I have problems.
Coffee today is brought to us by Monsters Mocha.
Oh, those girls are so great.
They're so nice.
We
This was
love
the
them.
Montesano.
The Montesano one.
One. There's also one in Aberdeen. So
Shout
either
out to you
location.
guys.
What? So good.
Woo.
They get it right every time.
Every single time.
Every
So
freaking
good.
time.
Try the white coffee.
White coffee. Justin hates white coffee.
I
But
think
you
it's
know
so good.
what?
It's like got a nutty taste
Yeah,
to it.
exactly.
Mhm.
But I don't care because he spent his time this week making fun of me.
For what?
We were sitting out on the benches, just swinging, talking about podcasts. And he said, say that again? And I was like, he like squinted his eyes and looked at me. And I said, our podcast? And he said, are you saying podcast or pogcast? And I was like, what? I'm saying podcast.
What
and he's
a
like,
stinker.
and he's like, podcast. And I was like, yeah, podcast. He's like, podcast. I'm like, we're both saying the same thing, Justin. We are both saying podcast.
He would like you to go heavy on the D. That's what it is.
Yeah, he does. Sorry.
Oh boy.
We're keeping it
into it.
PG.
Don't take it out.
D, of course, meaning the D in podcast.
Yeah.
No other meaning
Nope.
whatsoever.
None whatsoever.
Whatsoever.
Nope.
Becky is winking at me for those of you tuning in and listening.
Sorry.
And it
I
is
need
an
to be
over the
more-
top cartoon wink.
I need to be more descriptive. I always forget.
We forget that you listen to us. You love us.
They love us.
They
really
love us.
love us.
And if you don't tell us because we can't
Yeah,
handle it.
also, I
We're
don't
too fragile. Oh, and Becky
yeah,
doesn't
sorry.
care. And
I'm
neither do
not
I.
Fragile?
She's not, but I break. I fold like a cheap suit under pressure. I'm like sugar.
I'm sorry, I like that. I fold like a cheap suit. I always say fold like a lawn chair.
Like a lawn chair.
'Cause
That
that's
works
what
too.
Tim does with our kids.
He folds them like lawn chairs.
No, he never he folds like a lawn chair. If
Oh, okay,
Olivia
I see what you're-
asks
oh,
him for something.
his little
with
girl.
the daddy please eyes, and he's
Little
like,
girls.
He folds like a lawn chair.
You know what? When it comes to girls,
it's
I take
true.
the stance of Bobby Boucher's mom. Girls are the devil.
Dim's the devil.
The devil. Because I am one and I
Girls
know
is
it.
the devil. Oh yeah, for sure. I tell that to Olivia all the time.
Oh, I can't tell Allie
Don't
yet.
try to pull the me on me. Don't do that.
Don't look at me with my face.
Yeah.
Like, that's my face.
We've
And
been through this.
yeah.
I already know that.
I know your
face.
tricks.
I've looked in the mirror
I've seen that look before. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, on my face.
because I've made it.
Obnoxious little mirrors they are.
Oh,
Love
man.
them. I
Love
love
them.
my kids.
I do
All of
too.
them. Even the girls.
But we know how we can be, so
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
you can't play me for
Oh,
a fool.
Goodness.
Goodness.
Okay, so new structure. Well, it's the same structure, but we're emphasizing new structure on our podcast here. I'm gonna every time now because people are gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, you did say podcast," and Justin's gonna be like, "You should make a podcast about pog juice because pog juice is so delicious." Like, you know what? You can shut up and get out. Get out.
Get out.
Get out, Gary.
Gary, get out.
Get out. Anyway, so as you may or may not have noticed, either way is fine, but you should have noticed because you should have been following us from the beginning because we're awesome. we have taken a new focus on our Shenanigan podcast and really dug into the true crime and spookiness of the Pacific Northwest of it all, because we were told that being more specific is better.
Right.
But don't fear, because Shenanigans will always have that unique flavor of comedy and just stuff that you didn't need to hear, but you're gonna hear anyway.
Listen, when you're getting this duo, doesn't matter what you're talking about.
Would you say we're dynamic?
Shenanigans are gonna ensue.
It's gonna happen.
Dynamic?
We're dynamic.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. We're dynamic.
For those of you at home, you should see the look on our face. It's really good.
To the YouTube.
You got a good face.
I got a good face.
I like your face.
You got a purty mouth.
Well, thank you. Let me pucker up for ya. Anyways, I always put an S. Anyways, I don't even think that's a word.
I didn't realize I was doing it until I listened to another podcast, and one of the hosts is very good at grammar and stuff, and she has brought that out a few times to her co-host that he does that, and I'm like, oh,
because it's just one of those things that you pick up. You know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, hold on, I probably shouldn't. Like, I know that I'm doing it, but it's who I am.
Also, I was homeschooled, so I don't do, like, grammar.
Justin's very
I'm not
good.
Sorry, this is what you're getting.
Justin's very good at grammar, though, but he was also homeschooled. But he's very good at grammar.
Everybody has a different homeschool teacher.
But everybody has different strengths.
Right.
Right? So, he's very, like, to the point, seeing things the way that they are, and I'm like a dreamer where I'm like, ooh, this could be amazing, we can do this and we can move this over here and it's gonna be so grand, and he's like, I don't understand.
That's the great part about you too, though, because you compliment each other.
So
you
it works out.
Really do. Yeah.
So we have our own thing. We can be bad at grammar if we want, because like we said, sometimes our brain thinks good and mouth talk bad.
Always, every day, all day long.
All the time.
I leave every social situation feeling like that wasn't my best work.
5 years later, do you remember that podcast we did? I feel like I really messed that one up. That one Saturday we sat outside
at 7 minutes and 39 seconds.
Yeah. Oh goodness. I'll think about this forever. Trying to sleep. Here it comes. Forever. We also quote a lot of movies for those of you just joining in.
1993.
It's like it's a live thing. For those of you who have just tuned in, we also like movies. We like long walks on the beach.
Yeah.
Pina coladas. Getting caught in the rain.
I was like, should I?
We can't sing it though. We don't own the copyright.
No, I know. Oh, I hope you guys know it.
That's why I have to make up songs. Like the one about Olivia that I did. I had to make it up on the spot.
For those of you, to that,
I made that up on the spot, so be impressed.
That was impressive. When she listened to that, it was everything.
Good.
It was everything. And she's like, can I sound record that?
We pledge to thee. That's the part I remember.
She completely was like, I'm the queen of the world.
She's floating on sun rays.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Definitely not walking on sunshine.
No,
for sure not. Floating on sun rays. Oh, yeah.
And it feels all right. Yeah. Oh, goodness.
That's a great original song that we just came up with just now.
How do we think of these things? We're so
It's like a gift from Gad or something. I don't know.
So anyway, on that tangent, what I was saying before I interrupted myself and we interrupted ourselves is that we will still be doing the shenanigans, but we're going to do our little intro, icebreaker, get to know us like we just did first, and then we're going to move into the true crime of it all. And we're focusing on Pacific Northwest, and then we'll go more into shenanigans and upcoming events, because we've got
some good stuff on the calendar
upcoming that are going to be amazing, and I think you'll all be interested in them. So let's get into part 2. John Tornow, the wild man of the Wynoochee. Actually, there was a reporter from Tacoma who was following this too. And he called him the Beast Man.
So this reporter was following him at the
Beast
time?
Man. Yeah. Yep. He was
okay.
also following the story. And he called him the Beast Man.
And is this the reporter with the last name Cloud?
No, that's the one from Aberdeen for the Daily World.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, let me drop my pen. Let me get my notes out here.
Excuse me.
So, what we did last week, we left off with the Bauer twins, John and Will, and they were found slain in the woods.
So sad.
I know.
And they were so young.
They were only 19.
19 years old.
Yeah, 19.
Yeah, so young.
They were, both of them were big dudes too. They were 6 foot, 190, which I went to, hold on, it's in my notes here, the website, there it is. Oh, and then I need to give all my sources before I move on. ourworldanddata.org to look up, because they were of German heritage, I looked up how tall Germans were in that early 1900s, and the average was somewhere between like 5'4" and 5'6". Like,
so not tall.
Not tall.
Not even average for
so
today.
to have John, the Wildman, being over 6 foot, these boys being 6 foot, like, you would see in these articles, they were always like, he was a man of stature, and I'm like, he was only 6'2", like 200 pounds. That's not, nowadays I'm going,
when you compare it to today's heights, yeah, there's some very
my
tall
son
men
has
out there.
Kids in his class that are that height, and they look like bigger than that even, and they're beasts. So I'm thinking, look, if I took 30 pounds off of that kid, he would be like tall and like thin, but he was well defined.
And my son, he's not even 16 yet. He's just hit 6 feet. So that's something. Must be the steroids and all the food.
They didn't have that back then. They just went out and shot things.
Because they had for reals food.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not
for reals
pretends.
food. We just started a company.
For reals food.
Oh my gosh. You just went like, that go with it.
Oh, for reals
This food is for reals.
If I tried to sell it like that, though, I feel like people would buy it, because it would be like, this is for reals, guys.
Because every sentence you say is a question because of the upper inflection. For reals food?
Question mark?
Question mark?
We're not sure.
People will be like, is it real or not? What?
What? I don't...
Look at our pretty faces, not at our food. We'll have to have a disclaimer at the end of every commercial.
You just put it all question marks.
Right? Ingredients, question mark. Calories, question mark. When it's for reals food, you don't need to count calories, because it's for reals, good for your body.
We just started a new company.
I think we started annoying our listeners is what we did.
We just lost every single one
Everyone. They're like, freaking A, I just want to hear the story of the Beast Man, the Wild Man of Wynoochee. Which is a way better name than Beast Man. And last week I said Woodsman, which is still better than Beast Man.
I was just going to say that.
Because it was said ironically. The Woodsman. You find him in the woods. Oh. So, that leaves, so the boys shot dead and stuff was missing. The only thing that they were left with, like their coats were missing, their weapons were taken. One of the boys, I'll remember which one it was in a minute, had a knife in his pocket, and that was it. Everything else was taken.
Interesting.
Taken from them, right? They were buried in shallow graves, as we talked about last week, about 50 feet away from where they were shot.
And did they ever find the coats?
We'll get into that
we are
later.
Gonna get to it. Okay.
I don't know if they found theirs, but we'll find some things later on.
Okay.
So, that leaves Henry Bauer and Wilhelmina Min Bauer. They had 4 kids. Remember, Mary died from illegal abortion complications. Yeah. And John and Will were just slain within 10 months of when Mary died.
Right.
And so now they have 1 girl left named Lizzie.
Right.
That's it.
And which, as an aside, I'm still trying to figure out where it was that Mary had her abortion.
Oh, right. Right, Miss Katz. Kaatz. That's the house she was in, the boarding house.
And
Katz.
I'm hitting a wall with the research on that, because it's hard to find. If anybody knows a way to research old homes in Grace Harbor, please give me the information.
We want to look stuff up.
I need it, because I'm not finding anything.
Yeah. So the next day, a group went out to retrieve the bodies. Amongst them was Cloud, the reporter. He was everywhere. Like, he was always on it. And he was great because he only reported the truths.
Okay.
Like, what people had said. He didn't interject his own opinions or anything like that.
As
it was
you
really
said
good.
before, just the facts, ma'am.
Just the facts, ma'am. And the coroner was with them. The coroner determined that Will was shot first, and he was shot once through the heart. And that John was shot next. So, you know, he shoots Will through the heart. John panics, starts to run or whatever, gets shot twice.
Okay.
You know? And immediately, because of the vicinity they were in, where they were near one of John Tornow's many lean-tos out in the woods, because that he lived out there, you know, he had them everywhere. He needed to, because he walked and traveled and hunted. Because it was near there, because there was meat drying and all of that, they were like, John is like suspect numero uno.
Which
he's the guy.
Yeah, I mean it does make sense.
Oh, and the rifles, because they were shot with a 30 cal, shotgun. I don't know guns, so if I say anything wrong, I'm sorry. I'm trying. Like, some of them are like .25-20, and I'm like, what's that? 25 caliber? Anyway, if I get it wrong, don't get mad at me. Ask Will. If you don't know anything, ask Will. So anyway, after this is a word they used a lot back then. Even yesterday when Becky and I were researching some old articles, we saw this word relating to something different. They used the word posse a ton of times.
Yep.
So Sheriff Payette at the time, that's who was the sheriff, he arranged for 2 posses to go into the woods and begin the hunt for John Tornow. Now, real quick, my sources on this before we get going. I was reading the book Villain or Victim by Bill Lindstrom. We got the book On the Harbor so that we could research a lot of different stories as well. And On the Harbor has an article with John Tornow, also written by Bill Lindstrom. So I guess my main source is Bill Lindstrom, who is a local historian.
Thank
I
you,
also
Mr.
found an
Lindstrom.
article. Yes, thank y'all. I also found an article from Gray's Harbor Talk. So I've been kind of using all of these to research.
They've had
the
some
different
good information. Yeah.
They have papers from that day, so I've read lots of articles from the Daily World back then and Vidette and all of that stuff. So this is where I'm getting all my information, and yes, I'm condensing it. There's a lot that happened, so if you really want like an in-depth story in detail, get Villain or Victim, get On the Harbor, like those books right there, they're going to give you so much. I had a hard time like sorting out because I wanted to say so much, but then I'm like, oh, I can't get into it all because it's going to be like a 10-part series. So we're gonna keep on flowing. So
and you're doing so good. You tell it so well. Like, I'm researching Billy Goal, and I'm like,
because he's coming up
not
soon.
Like not
You'll be great.
The storyteller that you are, but
no, you'll be great.
The information is there, so it's gonna come.
We got it.
Yeah,
it's gonna be good.
Totes.
We're both. It's our type of storytellers. We're not reporters. Okay. It's like if you get together with your friends and you're talking about a story. Like, I know a little more about this one, so Becky's like, ooh, let me ask these questions. When she starts speaking on Goal, I'm going to be like, say what? Yeah. Tell me more. So, like, don't come to our podcast thinking, oh, these investigative news reporters are going to tell you the facts. You're just going to be super let down
if you do that. Don't do that, please.
No, you're going to get people who start talking and then go on a tangent for a moment and then come back around. Like, we're on a road trip.
We take 57 left turns.
World's biggest ball of yarn.
Right
next left.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
Ooh,
and then we'll be back.
Pictures of the yarn.
Yeah, exactly. And then we'll be back.
Yeah.
We'll bear with us, and if you don't like it, you don't have to listen.
It's a good listen.
But like we said, Becky doesn't care, and I'll cry. So
that's right. And if
you don't want to
make
my
friend cry,
Becky is punching her hand right now. For those of you listening,
do it.
She's threatening. Her hand is cocked back by her head in a fist pattern formation.
Make my friend cry. Calm her.
I'm a big girl, and I heard they don't cry, so I'll keep it together. Oh, we're weird.
Oh, yep.
All right, and so the interesting fact too, the people who were involved in these posses, like obviously the sheriff and the deputies, there were trappers from all over. They formed 2 posses, right? I said parties. They say posse. But they were only allowing men with no families to go, because it was a high risk.
There was a danger aspect there, yeah.
And they were getting paid by the county they were funding these posses.
Yeah, because the county had a set aside a fund for that specifically.
They
the
set up
posse fund,
the
if
posse
you will.
fund. At the start too, there was a $500 reward, and $500 today would be $17,400.
Wow.
Yes. So to begin, so like you say 500, and it's like, is that worth my life? Nowadays, maybe not. Back then, that got you a lot.
Oh yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
So then, they started, this was in September, and they went through March of 1912 just searching for Tornow. At one point, they got a tip that took them up to Mount Olympus, right? And this was a very painful tip because they went up there, right? And Sheriff Payette, they were crossing over, they escalated to like 7,000 feet, and he ended up like falling because there's snow and ice 1,500 feet down the mountainside.
He fell 1,500
yes.
feet.
He slid on down, tore himself up real good. Like, this is a dangerous.
How did he not die? Did he not die?
So what happened was there was a big rock or boulder that he caught himself on. And so the rest of the posse had to slowly make their way down to help him and form like a chain to get him to safety.
I'm seeing it all happen in my head.
Right? Yeah. You just see it, you're like, shoom, there he goes. They couldn't see him from the top.
How did he not die?
Right? Because that rock, it saved him because they were up high.
Okay, but say that out loud. The rock saved me?
The rock. You see Dwayne Johnson with his eyebrow swooping in.
I mean, yeah, sure.
Grabbing
but I
him.
was just thinking the
You're
rock
welcome.
would kill you. Like the rock.
Yeah, I don't know how he grabbed it or if he landed. Like, I have no idea.
Have, like,
grabbed it maybe and was hanging. But I mean, this is what they faced. So, and this lead they got was bogus. You know, because a reward comes out and suddenly he's seen everywhere.
Of course.
Everywhere. So now we're skip forward. We're in March of 1912. So this is 6 months later. 6 months go by. They have not found him. They have found many like camping spots, lean-tos, and different places out in the woods. But
we're discussing a man who was a survival expert.
Yeah. Since the time he was little.
And so you're asking these sheriffs and the posse and all these guys who maybe they were outdoorsmen, but they're nowhere near the expert level of John Tornow to be able to survive in the wilderness. Yeah. Come on.
No.
Yeah.
Yep. So March 1912, here we are. And a couple trappers in the woods come across an elk carcass in an oxbow area, and they say that they know by the way that it was cleaned and what was taken and what was left behind that it was Tornow. Like they're
because I'm sure he was very thorough when he
and he took what he needed. He was so there were a couple of experienced woodsmen. Mackenzie, who was one of the deputy sheriffs, he was also a part-time photographer.
Oh.
Part-time sheriff's deputy, part-time photographer.
Is that where we get all those awesome old-timey pictures?
Not the ones that we looked at later, because it doesn't
and
work
we're
out
not
well
going to
for
post
him.
those, right?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they're a little, that's too much. If
we'll
you really
talk
want
about
to see
it.
them, though, definitely look in those books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So experienced woodsman Mackenzie, deputy photographer, and the game warden at the time, he'd been the game warden for 10 years, A.V. Elmer.
Oh, that's cute.
I don't know what the A.V. stands for. I bet I could figure it out. But
Avril Lavigne.
Avril Lavigne. Avril Lavigne Elmer.
Sorry.
There
that's
it is.
where my head, like,
I know, right? Av
Elmer. All right.
They both had different ideas of what they thought would work. Mackenzie wanted to be more stealth-like because John senses people coming. Remember that story of him and his sister where she said he talked to the deer or whatever, sensed it coming before I even saw it?
Right.
Like, he has a connection somehow. And Elmer was like, nah, we gotta shoot him. Like, find him, shoot him. And Mackenzie's like, we should talk to him. Because at this point, guys...
So that guy's like,
they
shoot
are not,
him now,
like,
ask questions later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they don't know for sure that he did this.
Right.
It's all circumstantial.
Right.
Like, probably, maybe, I don't know. So, they went in. They were supposed to meet up with the trappers who had told them about the carcass. They were all going to meet in the area. But Mackenzie didn't want to wait. Oh. And they're like, no, we know the area. We know where they're talking about. So let's just go. And this turned out...
seems like a poor decision.
Ooh. This turns out to be not just a poor decision, but a very fatal one.
Oh, that's a bummer.
A fatal decision.
That's a bummer.
Yeah. So they went off anyway, didn't wait for the other guys so that they could have, like, you know, group security. Right. And 5 days went by and they didn't hear from them. And so Sheriff Payette got a group of 17 people, himself included, and they went out to the area where they knew the guys would be to search for them. And so as they're on their way out there, they notice there's a spot that has like freshly dug earth, you know, like clay
disturbed
and dirt.
earth.
Disturbed earth.
Disturbed earth. I've learned that from my podcasts too.
Yeah, see?
Disturbed earth.
Yep. And as they started to take like the butts of their guns and like kind of dig the dirt away, that's when they discovered both of the men's bodies, okay, under the earth. And the thing was, like, they had been stripped clean too of pants, boots, coats. One of them had like a weatherproof rain hat, a Luger, and ammunition.
And a Luger's a gun.
A gun.
You're gonna recognize.
Yep. Yeah. So, not only that, the way that they were buried was formation to make a T, like a capital T.
Okay.
So they were laid down in what looked like a T, you know, one midsection against the boots of another and laying out and everything. And so that just confirmed a lot of their suspicions. We'll talk about later whether or not it confirmed mine or others, but this is where we are. That's where they found them.
Okay.
They were fired at from a higher position, so this is where it gets weird too. So Elmer was shot through the heart with the 30, you know, like the gun we've talked about before.
Yeah.
And Mackenzie was shot in the shoulder. Then the killer went down and grabbed Elmer's gun and shot them. So Mackenzie, they believe that he didn't die right away because they kept making mention of the expression on his face. Apparently it was like a horrible expression of pain and fear before he died. And he was also shot with Elmer's gun.
Not to interrupt you, but that just what you're saying right there. Remember when you and I went to New Orleans?
Ooh.
And we went to the Death Museum.
Oh my gosh,
which, by the way, was
Museum.
Super cool. And they have the death masks.
Oh yeah, that's right.
From the early 1900s.
Right.
And people would do that. People who were killed in traumatizing ways or murdered or attacked, when they die, they have that look of
horror,
like whatever
we are
on
contorting our faces.
Yeah, and they have
not
that
as
look.
A way to make fun of people. Like we're not.
No, not at all.
Just
not at all. But
that's what happened.
When you said that, it totally struck. That light bulb came on, and I'm like, oh yeah, that really does actually happen.
Yep.
If you
and
die
that's how they found him.
Peaceful death, you're gonna have a peaceful look on your face. If you're attacked or something, you're gonna have that look on your face that you were attacked.
Yeah. Yep. And so they said that he had like this. Yeah. So he did not die right away. He got shot again, but the killer came down, grabbed Elmer's gun, shot Elmer again, and then also shot Mackenzie.
Wow.
After this, it took a little time, so I'm not saying immediately after, but they begged the county and the state to up the price on John's head.
Right.
Because he's wanted dead or alive. Like, did he do it? Maybe. They don't care. He's obviously like a threat to them. They feel threatened by his presence in the woods and the risk in the lives of those out there. So
I mean, at this point.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And so they actually did up it to $5,000, which in today's world would be $174,000.
That's an enormous amount. Yeah.
Much bigger. So of course, because this happened and it's upped, the rewards are upped and everything, more sightings occur. And
Well, of
he's
course.
everywhere. Let's see, some of the sightings
He's the
were...
talk of the harbor at that point, for sure.
Yeah, they saw him in Pacific Beach, which is near the coast. They saw him in Olympia, which is, up in east of Grays Harbor. They saw him in Elma. They saw him in Port Angeles, which is, and he did roam all these places, which is
even if you're going to drive, Port Angeles isn't that like at least 2 hours
so
away?
far away, but all these sightings picked up. And so then another story that happened was, at this time we had talked about logging industry being huge.
Oh, it's a booming,
big money. We're the capital of the world on it, right?
Yeah.
There was a cruiser that had gone out to survey land, and they had not heard from this cruiser for a couple of weeks.
Ooh.
Okay, and they were getting worried because they were supposed to be surveying in one of the areas that Tornow has said to roam.
Okay.
Like, this is Tornow land, you know what I'm saying? Wildman of the Wynoochee.
Yeah.
And his boss was worried about him, the sheriff was worried about him. And so before they can even get anything together to go look for them, the men turned up. And they were frightened because they were like, I think that we met Tornow in the woods. We were out surveying, and he came, and he sat at our fire, and he wouldn't let go of his gun, and he had dinner with us. We had roast beef, and it was so weird, and we're like, this has to be him, but he looks different. He looks like insane. And so they're like freaking out, and the sheriff's like, oh my gosh. So they have this lead of where they might know where he is.
Well, and
right?
I'm sure he did look insane, because at this point, think about what he's been through and what he's put himself through, as it were.
Absolutely. Yep. Cloud even wrote a story about it. He wrote what happened, and then guess what? Lies. The two men lied about it. They
really
made up the whole story because
how do we know they lied? Did they
they confessed. So when they were telling the story, apparently one man was prominently like telling the story while the other one kind of stood behind. And then the next day he was like, no, we made it up.
Okay, if it was true, both of them would be like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
Right? But no, one was kind of quiet, and they had trouble with their ship, and then they didn't want to like report it or whatever. So they're like, oh yeah, we met up with Tornow and blah, 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 and he's over here. So these are the types of leads that the sheriff and the posses kept getting sidetracked on. So they'd have his trail, they'd hear word that he's over here and there's been a sighting, so they would leave and go to these places. And they were so mad.
I would be mad.
Mm-hmm.
I would be super mad. Yeah. Jail time for them.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Yeah. So the hunt keeps going, right? Let's see, we get fast forward, and the county can no longer fund the posses.
Because money just ran out?
Yep. They were like, it's too expensive. You guys aren't finding anything. And soon after that, the sheriff's like, you know what? I'm not running again. The next sheriff is going to have to take the wheel on this one because I'm done. I'm tired. And so the new sheriff comes in at January 14th, 2013. So remember, the Bauer boys were murdered in September of 1920.
I was like 2013.
Ooh, it's been a while. 100 years later.
He's looking spry, that guy.
1913. Remember, the Bauer boys were killed September 1911.
Okay, so it's been a couple years.
So it's, a year and like 6 months or so.
Okay.
New sheriff comes in. He takes over the search. One of the deputies is his brother-in-law, Giles Quimby.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They don't really have a lot of resources still to do the whole posse thing, but they got a break in the case. Oh, Shell Matthews is the name of the new sheriff.
Okay.
Schelle. Shell.
That's cool.
I'm gonna call him Shelly.
Yeah.
He took office, Shelly. Right? In April. So he took office January, still nothing. Okay. We're getting through April. A couple of trappers come and they tell Shelly that they have found and they know that Tornow stayed in this one cabin during the winter times. And I say cabin, it's not like a cabin as we would be like, oh, let's go stay at a nice cabin.
But it's also not a lean-to.
Yeah, it's
right.
a little more than a
lean-to,
right. But he still leaves, like, he leaves sides and stuff open so he can see people coming. Like, he's a smart man. He makes sure that he can see all around, that he has good vantage points. Like, he's no dummy.
And now also at this point, probably very, very paranoid.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Oh, right?
Yeah.
Anybody steps near him, they're risking death, right? And so they drew a very, very detailed map on exactly where it was and how to get there. And Shelley's all excited. He gets another posse together, right? So we've got Giles Quimby, a guy named Storms, a guy named Con, and 2 trappers, Charles Lathrop and Blair, whose name, I could not find his last name. Everywhere I looked, it just kept saying Blair. Anyway, so they go out and they find, I think they called it like a pillow shack or a pellet shack, and they set up their camp, right? And Shelley was in Centralia, I think, at the time. Don't quote me on that. He was in another city, and he told them to wait for him.
Okay.
He said, wait for me. You know, go set up a camp, set up a base. We'll track him. Wait for me. Blair and Lathrop didn't want to wait for everybody. Oh, the trappers. The trappers were stuck in Centralia. Shelley was coming from Tacoma.
Okay.
Blair and Lathrop and Quimby were all there. And the first 2, Blair and Lathrop, said, we don't want to wait. We've got tracks. We know where he is. Like, we followed this map to the letter. We've got him. If we go now, we can take him.
Did they learn nothing from the last 2 guys?
Yeah, Quimby tried to stall them. He was like, no, guys, you know, the sheriff said to wait. The other 2 trappers aren't here yet. Like, we should not go. Don't go. And they're like, no, we gotta go. We gotta go. And they have their doggos with them, you know, so they got these bloodhounds. And they have the trail. They're ready. Like, they're fully cocked. They're ready to go. And Quimby finally gives in, but he's like dragging, you know, like, you know what I mean? So they find the place. They start to move in, and suddenly pop, pop, pop. 3 shots, and I believe Blair went down first. Let me double check my notes here. Oh, yep. So Blair goes down. Quimby's in the back. You know, he's like, oh my gosh, Blair dropped from sight.
Oh, man.
Lathrop dropped from sight. And so it's just Quimby. You know, he's got to be crapping his pants a little bit. A little bit of pee came out. Like,
a little bit.
Well, like, maybe even a lot of it. Like, you can't.
If it was me, it would be a lot of it.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, pardon me for a moment. But he sees a figure about 65 yards away, and he just starts shooting. He's like, just, I don't know how fast they can load and shoot back then, but he just starts shooting, and he gets off 7 rounds, and on the 7th one, he sees this figure fall. Okay? He's frozen. Like, he's stuck there for a moment, not moving. Didn't know whether to load his last.
Would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was like, do I reload my gun? I don't know. What does he do? He just takes off running to go call the sheriff.
I gotta say, I'd probably do the same thing.
He was like, he fell from view, so his thoughts are either I shot him and he's dead, or I hurt him and we can still follow his trail, but I gotta go tell people, because he's not gonna go over there being one person. That's dumb. Because what if he fell but was still alive and was like, oh yeah, chick, chick, boom. Gotcha. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Have you seen any movie ever?
Like,
it happens all the time.
Hey, let's go. No.
And the whole
the
time,
hell I say.
I'm like screaming at the screen, don't go over there.
Woman,
don't go
put
over
your pants
there.
on and don't go outside.
Yes. Also, lock your doors.
Lock your doors and windows. Don't sleep on the couch.
Yeah.
We learned that from Morbid. Thanks, Ash and Elena.
They're the best.
Seriously. So anyway, he goes back because he's going to contact them. Couple of things. Shelley was not happy that they went without the group.
I'd be ticked.
Right? And then the next day, they got the group of people out there to go see the scene. They don't even know if Tornow's going to be there. Right. They go out there, they find Blair and Lathrop, whose doggos were like sitting with them, guarding.
No.
I know. I know it's sad and that so people died.
Yeah.
I get it. But when you hear the doggos like just baying and sitting at their masters' bodies, because they're in pain now. That's sad.
I hope
that whole sight makes me sad.
Does it say anything like, did the doggos have a good rest of their life?
We'll have to look that up because I did
bet
not
they
see
did,
anything
though.
about it. I'm
I
sure.
bet they did.
I'm sure
bet
someone
they
took
had
them
a
in.
Wonderful rest of
Yeah,
the
we're
night.
going to say they did.
They did. The dogs were fine.
So then they go up a little further, and there he is, John Tornow, the wild man of the Wynoochee, beast man, woodsman, all the nicknames. There he is, lying dead on the ground, and they're happy because the reign of terror is over. They got him, right? The whole posse is there. They wrap him up, bring him in. And that is the story.
Okay,
That
but
is the
that's
story.
really sad.
It's a sad story. And let me tell you, even though it has like ended there, I'm air quoting, there were many, many people who did not believe that John killed his nephews or Mackenzie and what's his face, whose name I'm blanking on, Elmer.
Mm-hmm. Do we have some theories?
We do have theories, yes. So, and I read that a lot of his family and friends that he knew actually like left him. So this is the thing. Let me just say this real quick. All the reports, they're like, oh, he looked like a madman. Ah, you know, hiding behind the trees. Ah. When they got him, his hair was not scraggly. It was cut. His beard was short. It wasn't like you're picturing this like Gandalf character out in the woods, but less wizardy and more murdery, right? No, it wasn't like that at all. Wait, was Gandalf a wizard? I'm thinking of Harry Potter.
Well, Gandalf, you're talking about.
I'm talking
Lord of the
about,
Rings.
but I've never seen it. I pictured him, and then I was like,
wizard.
no, he is a wizard.
Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to make sure that I had my facts straight there, because I know Dumbledore is the wizard, but I don't want to use him in this because I like him. Except the second guy who played him, I didn't like him. Anyway, I'm not gonna go there.
Actors,
They are, but I like the first guy better. He was nicer. He had kind eyes. Second guy was kind of grouchy. I was like, why are you being so mean? Anyway.
We're going to have to get into that.
Well, that'll be a story for another day.
Yeah. Because I, have Harry Potter is my jam. And so,
we love Harry Potter.
Lord of the Rings.
That's like
I'm
sometimes.
such a nerd.
See, and I never watched that. I was like, too long. But. I stuck my tongue out and said, bleh. But his fingernails were trimmed. Like, he was not this crazy, like, cockeyed woodsman.
He's not what everybody made him out to be, for sure.
He really wasn't. And you remember from last week, too, all the stories about him growing up, everybody loved him.
Yeah.
He was a kind, hard worker. So there were people who left out like bags of potatoes and apples and left him clothes and stuff. But when they found him, he did have on that rain hat and a lot of the coats from the other guys. So so he had their stuff. But there are a lot of conspiracy theories. One theory came from a man who said there were these two woodsmen who, like two trappers, who threatened the Bower boys and said that they'd kill them. And that was one theory, that these other trappers killed the boys.
That could be. I mean,
yeah,
that's very likely.
That was also brought up the fact that in this area there were a lot of poachers. Okay. Poaching is illegal. Poaching is awful. And these people are ruthless.
Oh, for sure.
They do not want to get caught. They do not want to be seen.
Right.
They have to live in the shadows just like Tornow did. So the other theory was, how do we know these poachers? Because here's the thing. Why would John, what we know about him, why would he lay the bodies in a T shape?
Yeah.
To me, when I saw that part of it, I went, wait a minute. He's not an idiot. He's not going to be like, oh, it's a warning, T for Tornow.
Yeah.
No, that seems to me, and
it seems like something of a setup.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so when I heard somebody saying poachers, but they want the focus to be on Tornow, that would have been a super smart move to say, oh, look, a sheriff's deputy is out here and we are poaching illegally. Let's kill him and blame it on John.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, doggos in the background. We are outside and my dogs are pups and they bark at things.
It happens.
So there was that. There was one theory, because remember Eddie tried to say that John was in an insane asylum in Portland. And one of his brothers also said it, and they were the only two to have ever mentioned it.
But
and they
didn't you
also
say
wanted his land.
There wasn't a record of
Yeah,
it, though?
there was absolutely no record of it. Only two of the brothers had mentioned it, both of whom wanted John's land and money, because John had money in accounts, he had money that was left to him, and he had a lot of land.
Right.
Like, John was set up. He had a good amount of money. He worked hard. Like, he worked before all this. He was in the logging industry.
Yeah.
So there was... I'm not saying that it's correct, because Eddie's an idiot, and I don't see him being the mastermind of anything. But there was speculation that maybe his brothers, those two, had been involved somehow of framing him. But who would kill their own nephews? Because someone even brought up the fact that Henry Bauer, the boys' father, was acting really weird, hated Eddie, hated John. And I'm like, but would hire someone to go kill his sons? I don't think so.
No,
but you never know. Like, it doesn't make sense, but it was over 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And
different times.
Media stories, everything piled up. John just wanting to be left alone. So maybe he did kill the other four. I can't believe that he killed his nephews. Like, to me...
Oh, no, I don't believe that he killed his nephews.
That might just be a sentimental thing, but just reading about his life, I'm like, no way. He taught those boys everything.
Oh, yeah.
I can't believe that part at all.
He loved
a lot of
them
people
very
said
much.
maybe it was an accident. And I'm like, I guess that could be if they were shooting at a bear.
If he was guilty of killing them, it was an accident 100%.
Yeah, I agree. And so that was hard. A lot of people believe that the only two he killed were the two in the end, because they were,
Yeah, I think that was definitely...
Yeah, that was the only two we knew for sure.
It was kind of, for lack of a better word, is self-defense, kind of. I mean, really.
3 men coming at you with a gun.
What are you going to do?
Yeah. And since he's been hunted. So the question is, was he wrongly accused of killing his nephews and took to the woods? Because remember, he had that stutter.
Mm-hmm.
He was very embarrassed to talk around people. So to come in and try to say anything when people already think he's guilty probably seemed like a lot for a loner who loves the woods.
Right. And you're compounding anxiety when somebody's coming after you.
Yeah.
And anxiety's only going to make a stutter worse.
And these posses that go out too, they're out for blood. I mean, so the pictures Becky was talking about earlier is we weren't going to share them on our social media because we only found a couple of pictures of John, one when he was younger and one as a grown man when he was working in the logging industry.
He was a good-looking
man. Yeah. Tall, like neatly manicured face. Man. Becky just said, and now I'm uncomfortable.
Well, he was a good-looking... I was trying to think of the word for it.
I know,
he's
right?
A woodsy fella.
He's a woodsy fella. He's a handsome woodsy fella. Woodsman. That'll stick. But those were the only 2 pre-pictures. And now we get to all the pictures afterwards. Like, what was wrong with people back then? They were posing with a dead body. Sorry, trigger word.
I mean, should we describe that picture?
Yeah. Which one? All of them. Yeah.
The one that hit me the hardest was they tied him standing up.
Propped him to...
He's already deceased. They tied him standing up, propped him against a tree.
Yeah, wrapped around his waist, around... Yeah. Like he's standing, his head is slouching to the side.
He closed the poor man's eyes.
Well, and he's already been dead.
Open.
By the time they got there, he had been dead for a day, at least.
Gross.
So,
So we're already talking about decomp.
Yeah. We're already talking about your body changes after you die. Yes. Like, you don't look the same.
It's the process of decomposition.
So if you look at those pictures, those are the only ones we have of him being in the woods with the beard and stuff. He does look insane because guess what? He's dead.
Yeah. And
they are propping with a dead man. Oh. Yeah, his eyes are like half closed. Yeah. Like, it's so weird. It's so weird. So they have him like propped up. 2 of the guys are posing with their rifle. One of them was kind of handsome though. But anyway, probably insane because who poses next to a dead body?
But like you said, that's kind of like that's the way things were back then. Like that's what they did. But
they spent years, or a year and a half at least, almost 2 years, looking for this man who many felt very afraid of. Like he was terrorizing the country, you know? And so there was this fear. But you know what? A lot of people were not scared. I heard, like, one of the stories that was told was of a man whose daughter woke up in the dead of night and was like, Daddy, I hear something. And he goes outside, and it was John, like, grabbing the stuff he left out for him. He's like, it's okay, honey. It's just John Tornow. And she was like, okay. And went back to bed.
Well, because people that really knew him for who he
People that
actually
knew
was.
him did not fear him at all.
No, because he was a good man.
There was never any account of him being violent, except for shooting Eddie's dog. That's so bad.
It is so bad.
So bad.
There's no excuse for that.
I know, like,
Eddie was
it's not a dog for dog thing.
A garbage human.
He should have taken the dog for his.
Yeah.
He should have said, my dog now.
Yeah.
Come at me.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
This is
F around
mine.
and find out, bruh.
Yeah.
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 So, yeah, that's the story. Plenty of conspiracy theories. Or maybe real, I don't know.
You want to go way out there?
Oh,
I
yeah.
had this one that this theory clicked in my head as you were telling the end of the story. What if Eddie was the one that killed the twins?
See, and that was brought up too. But
because he was a garbage human, and he
Yeah.
had already been party to the death of their sister.
Yeah. Well, and the thing
was
is
sleeping
too.
with her,
Yeah.
like icky, gross human.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that had been brought to mind, and what's weird too is, like, literally a month after the boys were killed, he got married and moved to Pat County.
Oh, see, there it is.
But the thing is, he's lazy and not a good shot.
Yeah.
No way he could have gotten Will through the heart. Like,
oh, that's true.
You know what I mean?
Yep, that's true.
So it's like, no.
Yeah.
He's just
you're
a
right.
piece of crap.
You're right.
He's just a piece of crap.
Garbage.
Garbage human. It's okay. He's dead now. Like, this is no deformation of character. He really was a piece of crap.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was one of the theories that was brought up, is maybe Eddie. Another reason people suspected Henry Bauer is because, like, 6 weeks after the boys died, he put up his home for sale and they left to California.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
He said it was too much tragedy.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't think.
Well,
I would
Min
be
didn't
able
want to
to
go.
bear that.
Yeah.
No.
And she even told the reporter, allegedly, you know, this was years ago, that John knows where they are and she'll talk to him before they leave. Like, she was just very casual. And one of the things too that I read she said at the funeral was, at the boys' funeral, she said something to the effect of, John's watching now. I know that he is. He's here. He knows what's going on, and you will never take him alive.
Wow,
People
she called it.
Yeah, she said, you'll go out there to find him. People will die. You will not get him alive.
Wow.
I was like, she's a smart
she
girl.
foreshadowed that business.
Mm-hmm.
Oof.
So, I mean, like, crazy story.
Yeah.
You know,
That's so-
sightings
so
of him.
sad.
People kept saying they saw him out in the trees and stuff like this, and they saw a man, he'd hide in the bushes. Never, like, I saw an aggressive man. He was always running away from them.
Yeah. Because he just wanted to be left alone.
So, if they had left him alone, would people have died?
No.
Right?
Nobody would have died. I mean, like, no.
Yeah. I mean, if posses of people weren't hunting him down, would they still be alive?
I feel like yes.
I mean, not today, obviously.
Well, no. Because
It's a little past their, you know, expiration date on
just
that one.
Just
a little bit.
past.
But yeah, so there is like a memorial site you can go visit. He was buried near his parents and the twins and Mary, out at Grove Cemetery. And you can go to the shootout site. Actually, they've done reenactments and stuff too. We just found out that they do tours. We weren't able to get on one.
And they're not doing them right now because there wasn't enough people signing up for
and
them.
so if we do end up getting to go on one, we will put it in like a little bonus clips or whatever, like this is what we found out, because there's songs written about him. People have shared songs about John Tornow, and I mean it's a pretty crazy thing. There was a lake or whatever on near the homestead called Tornow Lake, right? And unofficially that's what it's called. They tried to make it official, but But the county was like, I don't think we want to glorify a serial killer with a lake. Plus, it doesn't constitute a lake because it's not full all year long. So we're going to shoot you a no on that one.
So it's just like a valley that floods.
Yeah, it's a valley that floods. It's not a lake.
Like most places in Grays Harbor.
Most places in Grays Harbor. So it's like, shoot, man. Yeah. Crazy story.
Dang.
Lots of twists and turns. Was he... And the thing is, we're never going to know. Because,
no, we won't.
Yeah. Did they go about it the wrong way? Did they go about it the right way? Did the woods turn him mad? I mean, he was living out there all alone being hunted.
Those people. People turned him mad.
Stick cracks and you're like, what do you want? Boom, boom, pew, pew.
Meow, meow.
Like, if I were out in the woods, I'd be like, I'll kill you all. Mud on my face, running around. And that's
They
only
do
after a few
first
hours.
blood.
A few hours, and I'm like, I'll kill you. You'll never take me alive.
Like Michael Scott from The
Yep,
Office.
pretty much. What is this? I'll eat it. I'll have a Dwight. You'll be my Dwight.
I'll be
Angel,
your Dwight.
no! Come
No, don't
smack
do
him out
it.
of my mouth.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. That'd be me. What's going on? I'll find it. Yeah. So, crazy story. Oh, Pacific Northwest is full of them.
Yeah.
We have...
More than we think.
Mm-hmm.
Because the more people I've spoke to about it, there are stories that are not so long ago.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be, like... Few of our stories will be from early 1900s, but some of them will be more recent. Like, it's just... There's a lot to choose from.
Mm-hmm.
So... That is the true crime part of our Shenanigans
And you told
podcast.
that story so well.
Oh, thanks.
Good job, friend.
I just...
Good job.
Whew, we've never done this before,
No,
so we're both just
you
like,
did
but
such
we
a
love
good
it.
Job.
Well, we love talking about these things, so we're like, why don't we just talk about it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And record it for
And
other
record it.
people to listen
Yeah.
to.
Will we get part 1 of Billy Gold next week?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, upcoming events, we've got next Billy Gold, who actually, we had talked about, was alive at the same time as John Tornow. Because remember, John Tornow was brought down in 1913.
Right.
Goal was alive in that same time. So they had crossed paths, apparently.
Right.
Goal was also a very good shooter.
Yeah.
But we never know if he was better than Tornow, because Tornow never entered the competitions. But I think Tornow would have kicked his butt.
I was going to say, those are the ones that are always better, the ones that don't want to compete.
Yep.
Or, yeah.
Billy seemed like he needed a puff chest about it.
I would say he was a bit of a showman. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
But Becky's been reading up. And in our Billy Gold series, too, we are going to have some interviews and some interesting takes and stuff. So it's going to be a really fun series.
There's so much.
Mm-hmm.
And like I've said before, there's so much during that time that...
We have a fire that we're going to do research on from that time, too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. And there is a lot in there that really gets me worked up as somebody who worked for a union company for 20 years.
Yeah, union stuff. Yeah.
There's so much to it. There really, really
It's going to be a good series.
Yeah.
And it's going to be multiple parts as well, because we're also waiting on some interviews.
Yep.
This one is the mark of our first interview, which is exciting.
That's going to be good.
Hopefully we'll have more to come.
Yeah.
We also are planning a trip to the Iron Goat Trail to hike a haunted trail.
Yeah. That one looks so good.
Yep. And then also we're planning a stay at a haunted hotel down in Tokeland. So we've got another serial killer, because
Question mark?
serial killer coming up, and then we have some possible hauntings coming up that we will document as well. The Iron Goat one was sent to us by a friend. She was like, "You guys should do this."
Yeah. Watching that video on it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was like,
"Whoo!"
So we'll get into more details as that one comes. And then let's see. I think those are the few things that we have lined up first. Yeah. Billy Goal, some haunted stuff, a fire. Yeah. And then probably a serial killer again.
Question mark?
No.
Oh no.
A real one.
A serial killer exclamation
mark. A serial
mark.
killer exclamation mark. Because there's somebody who operated for a long time in the Seattle type area near a place like the Green River.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We're going to be talking
I was like,
about...
I'm lost until you said
Where?
Green River. I'm like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
you're there.
he was
Gotcha.
there. He was there. So I think
Gotcha.
he's who, after Goal, will do some hauntings, and then I think we'll move back to serial killers
there you go.
and move to the Green River Killa. Also, if you haven't heard that tale, it's also a crazy one.
Oh, yeah.
More recent than the 1900s, but insane. Insane. And then, of course, growing up in the area, you're going, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Ah. There's a lot of oddities up here, too. Do you remember, okay, who watched Unsolved Mysteries?
Oh, 100%.
Waited for the end. I can solve this. I'm going to commit that face to memory, and I'm gonna figure it out,
Well,
right?
the host, what's his name? I can't remember his name, but I've heard it.
either.
I've heard it a few times, and I'm like, every time the host would come out as a child, I'd be like, scary time.
But the one that stuck with me the most is when it rained goo in Oakville. Do you remember that one? Ooh, I'm gonna have to show her that one.
It's like sparking, but not really.
Okay. Yeah, they never figured out what it was. There's a whole thing. Maybe we should take a look at that too.
Oh, yeah.
Because it rained goo from the sky. And they couldn't figure out what it was. And samples went missing. And so, like, ever since I was a kid, that has haunted me. Like, I live near there. Is it gonna rain goo on me? What was it? Who did it? Like, young me. Eating my popcorns.
Oh,
going,
yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, maybe
I could figure it out.
I never slept good after an Unsolved Mysteries.
But then, remember when the updates came at the end and you were like, yeah, somebody did it.
Sometimes.
When they didn't and you want one, it was the most heartbreaking thing.
I hate an Unsolved Mystery. I hate it. And yet there I was every time it was on, watching it.
Watching it.
To the television.
Yeah. Oh, another thing that we're going to do is the Shenanigan portion next week. We had some of our listeners who wanted us to try a new drink.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
So, next week, we are going to be bringing to you Beef Fizz.
Oh, Lord.
That's right. You heard me.
Should we shout out?
Beef.
Thank you, Andrea and
Hortensia. Thanks for that.
We're gonna do it.
Because I was like, oh, we should. And then I immediate regret. Like, I typed it out and oh, yeah, that'd be awesome. And I was like, don't. Yeah. So, join us as...
Yes, do join us.
Yes. And if you want to literally join us, all you need is a couple cans of condensed beef broth, a cup of chilled ginger ale, and a couple tablespoons of lemon juice.
It's gonna be refreshing.
We'll sit outside and sip our beef fizz.
Beef fizz.
Beef fizz. Beef fizzled. That means nothing. It means nothing. We'll come up with a great commercial for it and why you should all drink it.
Beef fizz for your summer refreshments.
For those of you listening, Becky has the corniest smile on her face and her head is bubbling like a bubblehead. And she's got her thumbs up. So, for those of you at home, thumbs up, head bubble, cheesy smile. Yeah. And the voice. You gotta add the voice. We'll do it. It's one of those old recipes. It'll be one of our shenanigans.
That's gotta be late 1800s, early 1900s.
Oh, I don't know when it was.
Honey,
Sounds disgusting.
Get the beef fizz. Let's go sit on the porch and have a beef fizz.
Ma, whip us up some steakums and beef fizz. That's what I imagine happening.
That's so gross.
Oh, man. Oh, there was one more thing I wanted to talk to you about. So, something that pops up that I know doesn't just happen to me, and I was like, I want to talk about it with someone. Those of you listening at home, who has ever woken up like just super pissed at somebody because of something they did in their dream?
Yeah. Oh, I've done it
gosh.
to my husband so many times. It's unfair. It's unfair.
I'll wake up and I'll look at him and I got this scowl and he'll be like, what'd I do in your dream? And I was like, let me tell you.
Yeah, listen.
Let me tell you. Because it happened last week where I had this weird dream that he came home with painted fingernails. And I was like, who are you letting paint your fingernails? And I was appalled. Because if you don't know my husband, there's no painted fingernails. Like, he's like, no thanks. Like, he's don't touch me. Don't, like, no.
Yeah, definitely not the feet.
No, he does not like feet. But it was like, I was so mad because in my dream I knew, like, even if I had asked him, oh, can I do it? Even if Allie, our daughter had been like, Dad, let me paint your fingernails, he'd be like, nah, that's all right. Nah, like that's just not his thing.
Right.
Some people are fine with it, some people aren't. Like, who cares?
But so let me get this straight, Justin. In Angel's dream, you let somebody else paint your fingernails?
Exactly.
Rude.
The nerve.
Rude.
The nerve.
Rude.
I was so mad.
I would be.
And he was like, it was a dream. And I was like, was it?
Was it?
It was a dream, but if you ever come home with painted fingernails, I'll punch you. Not okay.
Yeah.
Nobody does that. And he was
I
like...
mean, unless he's going to let you do it.
Right?
Then it's
but
fine.
he won't. But he was like, okay, babe. You know, like, humoring me.
Oh, yeah.
Because he knows. Because I'll wake up and I'll give him that look and he'll be like, what'd I do?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, let me tell you what you did. Let me tell you what you did.
Yeah, Tim knows because I won't say anything till he gets it out of me. I'll just be like cranky around the house in the morning.
He's like, whatever, I'm fine.
And he's like, what's the matter? What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? And then finally I'm like, well, in my dream. And he's like, oh.
Right? Because it feels so real.
It does.
You're like, did it
Those
happen?
are the ones that are very, very vivid, too.
Yes.
And you're like, ooh, I know where I was, when I was, and all that stuff.
Yeah. Why did I
I
remember
like it.
this? It's weird.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
And sticks with you. Makes
Right.
you feel icky.
And even though you know, like, I know it's in, like, it's a
yeah,
weird
you're
dream.
Well aware
it's
it's a dream. It doesn't make it any less maddening.
Because I wake up and I'm like, how dare you? We've been
How
together
dare
20 years. You jerk.
20 years and this is what I get?
Right?
You're going to go let somebody else
Painted
paint your nails?
fingernails
In my
from
dream?
another woman? How dare you?
That's when you throw water on them. Oh,
How dare you? Oh,
I'm going to kick everything.
Becky's
Sorry.
knocking over the mic.
I'm getting a little over animated here.
It's
Sorry.
because I got her all riled up.
Yeah.
Because of the
The
dreams.
dreams.
The dreams.
It's wrong. You were wronged.
That's true. I was wronged in my dream. He
In your
should
dream.
apologize.
Yeah. I think so.
He did.
A written apology?
Oh, yeah. Ooh.
Yeah, I would appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah. The other day I won a bet and made him buy me coffee.
Nice.
I was
High
like,
five.
you owe me coffee if I win this. He's like, okay. I allowed him to get some too, but I made him buy me a fancier one.
Yeah, I always bet
And I
coffee.
drank it with my back straight up,
Yeah.
my head pointed forward, smiled, stuck the straw in my mouth, and was like,
And that's how you
victory.
should hold
Yeah.
a coffee that has been
That you
won
won.
by a bet. Yeah.
hmm Or like Vanna White, where you have it in one hand and your other hand like shows it. It
Yeah.
swipes along the bottom, and you're like, this wonderful coffee.
I just do the eyebrow licks.
Oh, yeah. She's good at raising
Yeah.
that one eyebrow.
I get the eyebrow
Mhm.
going. Very much the
Yeah.
rock style.
And we mentioned him again.
And he did. He got 2 shout outs.
Like he needs it. He's everywhere.
Yeah, it's true.
He doesn't need that.
He's so good.
Getting weirded out again by Becky. And my daughter, who's creepily watching through the door, waiting for an opening to come out and talk to us.
Like a little
She's like,
creepy Victorian ghost from the 1700s.
yeah, because she's even got like
wearing
her
a
pretty
cute
dress. Yeah. She's got this really sparkly purple skirted dress with a bow, and then the top half is all black.
She looks so cute.
She's very cute, but she's got like her head tilted downward a little bit, and she's looking up.
Yeah,
like,
the hard stare doesn't help.
she's very good at that
Yeah.
stare. It's ridiculous.
It's not helping her out in
Nope.
this specific situation.
I'm just gonna wave to her and be like, "Not yet, sweetheart. We're still
Hi,
recording."
Just a few more minutes.
Okay, I'm shooing her away now.
Bye-bye.
She's smiling. She gets the hint.
Oh, I love our kids.
Oh yeah. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about today?
Gosh, I don't know. I
The
think
look
maybe
she
there.
just gave
No,
me.
I know. I'm like,
oh,
was there?
Was I supposed to bring something? No, I was just saying, you know.
yeah, because I literally forgot like my notepad, everything, because we're gonna sit down and do our calendar. And
Yep. And I was like, "Do you have your notebook?"
Nope.
No. But she has her phone.
I have my phone.
That's good
We'll
enough.
make it work. This is not a steel trap. This is not my brain. Not. a
Dude, that's
steel
why I have to write
trap.
everything down, because like I remember it, but then I start to talk and I'm like, oh, what happened next? Who am I talking about? I remember.
I forget as I'm mid sentence about said something or rather,
It just happens.
and it's
Mhm.
then it's gone.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I gotta do a reset of the brain.
Yep. But yeah, I think that if anybody knows of anything else that they'd like to hear more about, they should let us know.
Yeah.
Because we're researching and finding ones that look interesting to us, obviously, but there's going to be a lot more out there that we haven't heard of or whatever. Let us know. Tell us what you want to hear.
Yeah.
Give us some hauntings and some spookiness, some serial killers, some creeps.
Shoot us an
What do you
email.
have? Show us what you got. We showed you ours.
No, I knew you were gonna do that. I knew you were gonna do that. I'm like, don't do it, don't do it. She
Now
did
show us
it.
yours.
She did it.
Had to.
That was great.
She could tell too because I like side-eyed her and was
did?
smiling
Don't-
like, "Whoo,
Don't do
it's
it.
happening.
She's gonna do it.
Can't stop this. Can't stop this." Kevin James style from
No.
Hitch.
Yep.
Arms hitched at the side. Boop, 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 boop. Dancing,
And then he's
wiggling
like,
the arms, snaps. Yep.
Don't ever do that again.
Yep. Exactly.
Mhm.
If you haven't seen Hitch, that's a pretty good one.
That is a good movie. I like that.
It just shows us that he loved to slap people well before. Justin said it's okay to make fun of celebrities.
No, it just clicked when you said it, and I was like, oh, it's true though.
That's funny.
Oh my gosh, it's so bad.
You know what my favorite Will Smith
Oh.
moment is, though? In Independence Day, when he finds the alien and he punches him and he says, Welcome to Earth. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
And then when he's dragging
Independence
him
Day.
and he's like, dragging your
What is that
body,
smell?
right? Dreadlocks hanging out the back. I love that movie. It's so old now, isn't it?
Because I'm such a nerd. Did you know that was all improvised?
Oh, was it?
Because
That doesn't surprise
what,
me at all.
What he was dragging, the prop itself actually did smell. It had like a very charcoal smell. Excuse me, I can't talk. And so he did stop. He was frustrated. It was hot. And he's like, and what the hell is that smell?
I love it. I love improvised lines from funny people.
They're always the best.
Yeah.
They're always the best.
Yeah. In Parks and Rec, one of the lines that Chris Pratt as Andy gave was Leslie was going to find out something. He's checking the internet and he's like, it says you may have connectivity problems.
Like, he's so cute.
What?
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
I love
his
that.
character on that show was so good.
So funny. I love it. He made up songs all the time too, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I love to make up songs. I sing some of his made up songs sometimes. When he's
They're
sitting
cute.
with his legs all broken and he's got his guitar and he's singing about stuff in the room.
Yeah.
And he goes, lamp. I wish you were the kind of lamp that light up when you got touched. I was like, I do that all the time when I touch my lamps.
I know. I
Because
love
it just
those
sticks
lamps.
with me. 2 minutes and 20 seconds. My daughter came out to ask me how long the popcorn goes in the microwave for because she wants popcorn. I could tell on her face she couldn't remember how much time. So, sorry. 2 minutes, 20 seconds for that one, guys.
We know our kids pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Good times. Good times.
We must have different microwaves. In my house, it's 1 minute.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, mine, 220 is what it takes. Maybe it's not as strong.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Microwaves.
Microwave. Watts? Like watts?
Oh, okay. Do you get mad when it says watts, like on a thing with instructions on how to cook it?
Yeah.
If you have a 1500 watt microwave, I'm like, I don't know. I've looked at
I have this one.
It
It's
doesn't
about
say.
this big.
On the little sticker that's inside the microwave, it never says.
Nope.
Somebody show me where it says. Because it doesn't.
I mean, if you know, tell us.
Yeah.
Because I never know. I'm like, I split the diff. I'm like, not the lowest, not the highest. I'm going to go middle.
Always.
Go middle.
Mm-hmm. Go middle.
If you don't know, go middle.
Yep.
Can't hurt. And I listen. I'm like, oh, we're getting to those last pops.
Yep.
Blink. Now it's open.
Turn it off.
But this microwave that I have has a popcorn button. Okay.
Don't ever do the popcorn button.
It like says that it like weighs it or something. And so I pushed it once thinking, oh my gosh, this is fancy.
Yeah.
And it it like ran for 2 seconds and turned off. And I was like, huh.
And see, mine
Might
goes
be
way
broken.
too long. Mine goes for like almost 3 minutes, and then you have burnt popcorn. And I'm sorry, but the smell of burnt popcorn never comes
It reminds me. Everything reminds me of a show, The Office,
I know it
when
does.
Phyllis is like, it smells like popcorn.
Popcorn.
Somebody burnt popcorn. Now it smells like popcorn. she puts an A on it.
Yes, yes.
It's not popcorn. It's popcorn.
Popcorn.
It's How She Talks.
Yeah.
It's a good show too.
Oh, I love that show.
Oh man, so many good shows. We'll quote them all. Sorry, guys. Not sorry.
Because the TV raised me.
The TV raised Becky.
It did.
It was the house that built her. The Family Matters house.
Oh,
the
man. Step by step.
Full House. House. All the houses.
I loved it.
Yeah, good times.
And there's a couple other. Where the character's name is Balky. And I can't remember.
Oh.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
But I don't remember it because I didn't watch that very much.
Country.
Yeah.
That was a big one for me. I loved that show.
Gotcha.
It was really cute.
Oh.
I didn't do it.
Her phone is buzzing.
Mom,
And it's on the glass table over there, so it's like
My children just can't.
Children, they never stop.
I never do.
Nope. All right, I think that wraps it up for our podcast today. Podcast. Anyway, thanks for that, Justin. Now I think about it every time. Anyway, so you can find us on Spotify and on Anchor. I'm working on getting our podcast into other outlets too.
Yeah.
It's just taking time. Because it just takes time.
Yep.
But you can find us on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok.
And Twitter.
Even though I'm not the greatest at tweeting. I
don't really know.
I've never been... I don't know how. So that's probably not the first place you want to look. I would say Facebook and TikTok
is where
and
we're the
Insta.
most active. Yeah, Facebook and Insta.
Yeah. And if you just search up Shenanigans Pod 1, you'll find us. But if you're on... For our podcast, obviously we'll post the link, but it's Shenanigans with Angel and Becky. And of course our focus is on like true crimes and creeps and paranormal and stuff, but we also add in all the other fun, silly things because we don't want to leave you hanging with like a super heavy story.
Right, and our banter is cute.
Yeah, we're adorable.
Totes.
You should listen to us.
Oh gosh.
Despite what we just did, you should listen to us.
Sorry.
But anyway, this is us signing off, and we tried to keep it shorter, and we failed, and that's okay. Just over an hour. That's how long it takes to get your house cleaned, right?
If you're not me.
Yeah.
It takes me like 6 hours, because I'm
Okay, I would say, let's say an hour in your kitchen. Getting some dishes done, scrubbing some things, maybe. Sure, why not?
Sure. Yeah.
So, or if you're driving, you can listen to it in segments. Do what you want.
Yeah.
Just listen to us.
Live your life. We're not here to boss you around.
I'm gonna boss you.
Okay.
Just kidding. I'm not gonna boss. I would feel bad, but you should.
I need you to boss me.
Okay, I'll boss Becky.
Yeah, she'll boss me, and you guys do your but
and we won't boss you, but you should listen to us.
Yeah, totes.
I agree.
This
is 100% Angel and Becky approved. We are.
Yeah.
And we're Justin and Tim approved.
Yes. The best.
Tune in next week for Beef Fizz. And part 1 of Billy Gold. What? Gold Grace Harbor. Woo-woo.
Oh, it's gonna be so good.
Billy.
Yeah.
And we're done. All right, I think we got it. Now I'm gonna unplug you and give us a. Oh yeah.